Oral health is vital for good body health, and if you've ever wondered how to keep your cat's teeth clean, I've got the answers coming up. Hi, I'm Dr. Alex, the veterinarian behind ourpetshealth.com, and welcome to episode 1 of the Dr. Alex Answers show, where I answer all of your dog and cat health related questions. Right, I'm going to start with a question from Bridget, and Bridget has been a regular contributor to the Our Pets Health community, and I'm really happy to have her on board. And she replied to my email asking this question. So she asked, I would like you to cover how to keep your cat's teeth healthy. I know you can brush them, but it's not always easy. Is there anything to help clean the teeth? Like a dog can have a raw bone, which does a brilliant job, but what can you give cats? Some medications can cause yellowing of the teeth. Can this be put right? Okay, so that's a great question, and I'm a real big believer that a healthy oral cavity, so healthy teeth and gums, is really important if we're going to optimise the health of not just our cats but also our dogs. So brushing isn't easy, but I should say at this stage the brushing is absolutely the best thing that we can be doing. It is though the most labour intensive, and it is the hardest thing that we can do. There are many strategies that we can use to start brushing our cat's teeth. Ideally we'd be doing that at a young age as a kitten, so we'd be introducing a flavoured toothpaste, a chicken, a malt flavoured toothpaste. We'd be using that as a treat, having our cat lick it off our finger. Once they accept that, we can then use our finger just to kind of gently manipulate their mouth to get them used to that sensation. We can then wrap something like a little bit of gauze or a flannel around our finger, put the toothpaste on that and use that to rub their teeth, and then finally we can introduce a toothbrush. But you know, it does take a lot of time, it does take a lot of effort. Not all cats are going to accept that, and you know, we really need to be doing it a minimum of 3 times a week to give it the value that it kind of needs to happen. So if we're going to be doing it less than that, then we're probably not going to be getting the maximum benefit. Our cats also won't be getting used to it as part of their daily routine, and it will become more and more of a battle. Now, full disclosure, I don't brush my cat's teeth. I've got a lot on my plate, I've got 2 young children, and it's just something that I know that I wouldn't be able to do regularly, and so it's not something that's done with them. Now, that's not to say I don't believe in it, just realistically I know it's hard work, and it's really not for every situation and for every cat either. Okay, so the next thing that we can use to keep our cat's teeth clean is specific dental diets. So there are a number of diets out there that are supposedly better for teeth, but there are a number that have actually been designed specifically to help maintain good oral hygiene. Now these diets, and I'll put a link in the description to a few of them, they have a bigger size kibble, so that encourages our cats to chew them. So a lot of the time with different kibbles, then our cats will be swallowing them or they won't be chewing them properly. But these bigger size biscuits, they encourage them to be chewed. They've also got a very sticky and abrasive matrix, so that means that the tooth actually sinks into the biscuit rather than the biscuit just shattering into lots of different pieces. So the tooth sinks in, and the abrasive kind of texture causes the tooth surface to be wiped clean and kind of to have the plaque and tartar removed. Now, certainly in my experience, it does do a good job. It's not the be all and end all, and it won't completely prevent cats' teeth developing plaque, tartar and developing dental health issues, but it definitely does a very much better job than normal diet. So that's certainly something to consider. Now, they are complete diets, meaning that they can be fed as the only thing that you feed your cat, but another way to use them would be also use a handful every day as treats. So you obviously don't want to soak them or mix them in with a wet food, because that's going to compromise kind of their texture and their ability to clean your teeth. But we can maybe use them as a treat, or just use as a handful at bedtime or something like that. So that's another way to use these dental diets. Okay, so the third thing that we can do is we can use dental chews or dental toys. Now, this is something that can work very well in dogs especially, so there are things like Dentastix or Vegident. There's various different chews that are designed to be gnawed, and as they get gnawed they scrape the teeth clean. Or there are also toys, and in cats' cases they can be filled either with food, or they can sometimes have catnip in them, which encourages your cat to play with them and gnaw on them. Now, if your cat is one who does spend time chewing on the dental treats, or they do spend time playing with the dental toys, then they can definitely help, and they can definitely just scrape those teeth a little bit clean. In my experience, personally, I find that a lot of cats, they don't do that, so it might be something to try. especially if your cat does spend time chewing things. But very often I find that that's actually quite difficult to encourage cats to do. So yeah, I'd love your thoughts. If your cat really kind of goes to town on these and spends lots of time chewing, let me know what kind of toy or what kind of treat it is in the comments down below. I'd really love to hear. Okay, so the fourth thing that we can use to keep cats' teeth clean is we can use oral gels or water additives. Now these are things, in the case of oral gels, they're something that you just kind of dab into your cat's mouth on their teeth or gums. Ideally you'd rub it in, but you don't have to. Just popping it in there is all that's needed. Or in the case of water additives, you actually add that to the water, and then when your cat has a drink, they obviously take that and that sloshes around their mouth. So we tend to recommend something called Maxigard gel, and that does seem to make a difference in just slowing down the formation of plaque into tartar. So it reduces that tartar formation. And what happens in normal dental diseases, you get a film of plaque forming on the teeth. In a day or two, that then starts to develop into tartar, and that tartar is what you see when you see the kind of yellow-brown deposits on the surface of your tooth. Once that's there, then that starts to cause problems with the gums. It starts to cause destruction of the bony sockets, and that's when we get irreversible dental disease. So if we're stopping the formation of tartar, then that's really going to help. And these chemicals will do them in a number of ways. They will either help have a cleaner mouth, so reduce the bacterial load, or they will actually also stop the chemical reaction of tartar formation. So they're certainly not the be-all and end-all. Ideally they wouldn't be the only thing that they would use. Certainly the Maxigard oral gel does seem to help. It does make a little bit of a difference. I think it's important not to overstate that, but these can be a very useful addition to any kind of dental hygiene, dental home care strategy. As for the water additives, again, cats can be quite fussy with what they drink, and I've actually got another video all about how to get your cat to drink more that discusses that very point. But I do find these water additives, they do add a little bit of a flavour, so very often I think our cats won't drink them. But again, they can be something for you to experiment with and see if it's appropriate for your cat. Okay, so in Bridget's question, she mentioned the fact that dogs will have bones and that will help clean their teeth. So what can we give cats? Well, I think giving dogs bones is maybe a topic for another day. We certainly see a lot of problems in the veterinary clinic with bone feeding. So yeah, that's not something I want to go into now. We can give our cats bones, so we can give them things like chicken wings, that kind of thing, so small kind of poultry. Their bones aren't too dense, they're not too hard, and so our cats can crunch them up. And also the kind of the meat that surrounds them in the sinew will help clean their teeth. Now there are issues as well with raw feeding. Many people will feed raw and they'll be very happy with it, and raw feeding is something that is a very touchy subject, and again, not something that I want to go into today. So while it's not something that I'd recommend, if you really want to feed something like that to your cat, then something like chicken wings would be something to consider. Bear in mind that it's not without risk, and again, it's not something that I would personally recommend. It's certainly not something that I give to my own cats. Okay, and the final reason, or the final way to keep your cat's teeth clean, is to have regular dental checkups and oral checkups with your vet. So we think of vaccination consultations as giving vaccinations, or we think of routine healthcare as giving worming and fleas and that kind of thing, but actually a general check over of the whole body is very important, and checking over the mouth is, a real cornerstone of that clinical exam. So what this allows us to do, it allows us to intervene at an early age. So when tartar is starting to form and we're starting to get a little bit of gingivitis, we can then book our cats in for a full dental scale and polish, much like we would have at our dentist or hygienist. So unfortunately we do need to anaesthetise our patients for that, and that is a downside, and that does come with a cost. But ultimately, when a mouth is dirty, when the teeth are dirty and there is some dental disease present, the best thing that we can do for our cat's teeth and for our cat's oral hygiene is to have a dental cleaning procedure, ideally before there's significant disease that will necessitate the removal of teeth. So that's one reason. But another thing to also mention is the fact that cats specifically get a disease called oral resorptive lesions, and what that is that the tooth, for one reason or other we don't quite understand, and it is something that we do see in our wild cat species, is that the tooth, effectively the enamel on the outside, becomes eroded and moth-eaten, and that leaves the sensitive dentine and the sensitive structures under that are normally protected by that enamel, that leaves them exposed, and that is really painful. So if you are able to closely examine your cat's mouth, what you'll see little pockets and little erosions in that enamel surface. It will often be a little bit kind of pinky grey, and if you actually touch that, your cat will likely react quite badly because it really is painful. So that can happen in a clean mouth and a dirty mouth, but it's another reason why regular health checks and regular oral dental checks at your vet is very important. So that's definitely something that I would encourage as well. Okay, and the last part of Bridget's question was about antibiotics or medication causing discolouring of the teeth. So it's not really a problem that we see so much in our pets. Definitely tetracycline, so oxytetracycline and doxycycline are two antibiotics kind of in the same category, but if given to very young animals where their teeth are still developing, then it will cause a kind of yellowing, a yellow discoloration. So we often won't use those drugs in our young patients unless there is a real kind of a real health risk with not giving them. But that yellowing it's kind of a permanent discoloration from within the tooth. It's not something that we can scrape clean or we can change the colour once that tooth's formed. So unfortunately, if a tooth is discoloured because of some medication, then that's not something that's reversible. Equally, it's not something that's generally very severe or affects the function of that tooth, so it's often a cosmetic issue rather than anything more serious than that. So yeah, I wouldn't be overly worried about that. Okay, so thanks for your question, Bridget. I hope that gave you a few useful answers and a few useful strategies that you might consider employing with your cats. And if you've got a question for me that you'd like answered like Bridget, then you can leave me a comment below. You can leave me a comment over on ourpetshealth.com, or you can tag me on Twitter at ourpetshealth. And just make sure if you're replying to in any of those ways and you would like me to answer your question in this way, just use the hashtag Dr. Alex Answers, and I'll make sure to answer your question in the near future.
Right, so I just came to edit my video and I found out that my microphone ran out of battery as soon as I started recording, and then my camera memory card filled up just right at the end there. So yeah, ask a question. I'll try my best to answer it as soon as possible, but just to let you know that priority will be given to my newsletter subscribers. So if you're not already subscribed, then I'll leave the link down below. So just reply to any of my newsletters. Make sure you use that hashtag and I'll try and get you the information that you need. So remember, you keep asking the questions and Dr. Alex answers. Bye.